we back. Episode, I'm not even sure, A.M.University. I lost track last season, but A.M.University, I'm your host, Antoine Miller. I got two guests on that I'm very excited to have on, mainly because, I mean, if you follow the show, every season I kind of like to just talk about the landscape of basketball and where it is, right? Because it changes so rapidly. And I had dialogues frequently with my two guests offline, and I knew I had to get them on this show this year. So without further ado, to my right, your left, was 2020 Group 3 sectional champion. I was at West Tech for 7 years, and every time we had to play a Rich Bulls team, it was like, you can scout all you want, but you know, like, the pressure is still gonna come no matter what from his team, whether it's defense, whether it's offensively, and you just can't mimic it in practice. You can't mimic it in practice. That year that y'all did won the sectional, I was planning for y'all from the December scrimmage that we had. I was like, and I don't know if you remember Tyrese Myrick on our team.
Yeah, the guard.
We was sitting on the corner at y'all gym during the scrimmage, and we was like, we got to beat them to win a championship.
Wow.
He said that at the scrimmage, and I was like, I think you're right.
He said that.
He said that at the scrimmage, and I was like, yeah, you're right. And we was planning for you, but you just can't mimic your pressure, and to me, that's a testament to your identity, which a lot of coaches don't have, but that's a whole nother story. But without further ado, Rich Bulls.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To my left, your right. A Snapple fact that I found out. You won a state championship at Paulsboro.
Yes.
I never knew that.
Yes, and I was very fortunate. It was my first year. I was 23 years old, and I inherited a very, very good team. And again, very lucky. Very lucky.
This guy, he's really modest, man. Haddon Heights head coach Mike RICCI. It's funny having conversations with you. You like kind of in that stepchild as far as where your area is, as far as what schools is surrounding you and things like that. But you still always find a way to get it done, and at the least, you put a respectful team out there every single year, you know. And I always watched you from afar and was always impressed because, you know, the naked eye could think one thing, but if you really dive in and just see, like, it's extremely hard what you do. I'm gonna just say that.
I appreciate
it. You know, so
thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks
you coming
so much
on.
for having me on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you coming on. So I'm gonna just start with that. From you guys' perspective, let's start with Coach Bowles. What do you think the landscape of basketball is? Are we in a good place? Are we headed to a good place? Are we headed to a bad place? Where are we going from a grand scheme of things, from the highest level of basketball to all the way to midget leagues? What do you think? Where are we at in 2023, heading into 2024?
That's a great question. When it's hard to give a correct answer, but to try to answer your question from the highest level, when you look at NBA players, you see that all of the guys that are in the NBA now, the influx of players that's coming in are young, very young. And then 20 years ago, you didn't have that many coaches on the bench, that many player development guys on the bench and things of that nature. And I think that's just the way that the landscape has changed so much. For that, at that level, it's just, I don't know, you have to focus on the development because I don't know if they're getting it at the lower level. And when I talk to a lot of coaches, they tell me two things that they're consistently looking for, and they're like defense and shooting.
You talking about college?
I'm talking NBA.
I'm
talking at the NBA level.
Oh, okay.
There's shooting and defense. So when you look at those guys, all those guys are athletic. Obviously, they got good bodies and things like that, but the skill level isn't there. And then when you trickle down to college, I mean, you have, I guess the biggest transition, the biggest thing you can say is the NIL. The NIL has changed the whole landscape of basketball. And now it's like, all right, well, if I'm going to this school, how much can I make here, this, that, and the other? And it's not even about the coaches. So, and that affects us at the high school and the grassroots level, because 10 years ago, our guys can play well in high school, get recruited, and go right to college. And now that isn't the case because those guys at the college level now, they're staying because of COVID. They get extra years. You have our some college guys that are playing at the age of 25, 26, 27. So, and that some are getting NIL money and things of that nature. So, that hurts the recruiting at our level. And for our guys, our high school guys, it's so much difficult. It's so hard to try to get them to get seen by schools and things like that because college coaches at that level are looking at grown men. And if they're not ready to play, it's just what it is. The kid from our 2020 team, he literally just got an offer last week from a Division I school. He had to go to prep school, and then from prep school he went to 2 JUCOs.
2020 team.
Yeah, 2020 team. And he literally just got an offer. And not only that, just to give an example, I have a kid that played for me now. He's a junior as a 26-year-old in college. And so when you look at the landscape, it's always in transition, in my opinion, because of the NIL, because of the transfer portal, because our high school kids, they're just not getting recruited because of the simple fact that college coaches, they want ready-made players. They want grown men now. And I'm always telling my kids, listen, if you are fortunate enough to play beyond high school, you're going to be practicing against 24, 25-year-old men at the age of 18. So you need to figure that out. We're not even talking about the NIL money and the social media and all of that. We're just talking about just being able to play because of the extra years that they get.
Coach Richie.
Yeah. I mean, the NBA, watching the NBA is difficult. It's for me as a coach to watch because, as Coach Bowles mentioned, it's I guess the skill level from when we used to watch when we were kids has gone away. It's a big man game. It's an athletic game. You have point guards that are 6'7", 6'6", where when we were younger, point guards were 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. So the whole landscape has changed, and our guys watch those things and try to mimic those things, and they're just not ready to do that. They don't understand the work and the time that was put in to get to that level, that athletic level and that skill level. For college and talking to like my kids that I coach at Haddon Heights, we're mostly D3, D2 kids, but they don't understand how difficult that is to play at that level. So it's difficult to try to navigate through all that with the recruiting process with the kids and get them to understand getting that commitment to a school is hard enough, but it's even harder once you get there. It's kind of like I listen to guys that get drafted, whether it's NBA or NFL, and they say once we get drafted, that's when it starts, right? That's not when it ends, it's when it starts. And so trying to teach these kids the fundamentals of the game and have coaches understand that when they walk in, when kids that go through our programs, all of our programs, that they understand the fundamentals, they understand the game, they understand how to play. And so it's just the whole landscape of high school has changed so much since I started. This is going on to my 27th year of coaching. But for me, I think the biggest impact with my team and watching high school basketball here in South Jersey has been the impact of AAU. And I don't mean that in a positive way. I mean it in a not so great way. For me, it's just difficult to get them out of the mindset of AAU and it's about me and I have to get mine, and then to bring them back to the mentality of playing within a team. And that's probably one of the most difficult things. Starting coaching in 95, 96, we had teams that you played with your classmates, you played with your friends, you played in the school where you went to town, you went into where you grew up.
Yep.
And now, as the time has gone on, it's kind of broken into 5 individuals that play. And then
I'm gonna come back to that point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to that point. You spoke about it a little bit. I would like you both to elaborate on this part. So blending the old school way of coaching with the new way of coaching, right? Like, I'm just using an example, like the 3-point shot, right? Like, I don't know how y'all feel about that, but it's like, I think I just saw the article about like Jabari Parker or something like that. He went overseas.
Yes. I read that article.
And he was talking about something in relation to they don't even want you to take mid-range shots even if you're great at it or something like that. He was like, I don't understand that. You know, like, how do y'all feel about that and go about like blending the two? Because basketball is basketball to me, right? In my opinion, it's like if I got a kid with a skill set, it's not about what the analytics is telling me to do. They're great at that. You know, and I'll never forget at a coaching clinic about 5 years ago, Frank Martin came in and he said, none of you coaches teach how to post anymore. And he said, one day they're going to fire me in college. And he said, you know what? I'm going to come back to high school and I'm going to destroy all of y'all because y'all don't teach post play.
You're stealing my point. You're stealing my point. In my opinion, to win at the high school level, if you can throw that ball inside to a post player and then surround them with guys that can shoot, you're going to win. At the highest level, it's not that anymore. It's just shoot threes, come down, shoot threes. Again, post play is to me, it doesn't go out of style. Now, people are like, well, that's one of my former players. He coaches at Lindenwold. He's like, well, coach, you're OG now. And I'm like, no. If I play you, I'm throwing it inside. I'm telling you where I'm gonna throw the ball. Now and then you have to figure it out after that, because closer to the basket, higher percentage points, going against what analytics say, you'll miss more threes than you make. I need short baskets, and then if we can make 8 to 10 threes a game, we're good. But we're not going to shoot 40 threes a game. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, this is what they do at that level, and this is what the kids want to see. Thank you, Steph Curry. You know what I mean? Because that's he's transitioned that. So now you're looking at kids 6'8", like you said, 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". They're out there shooting threes, and like Coach Martin says, hey, listen, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna kill all y'all because I'm gonna get a 6'5" guy that can post. And when we played at West Hampton, that my kid was 6'4", we just throw that thing inside. Mm-hmm. It was going inside. Yeah. So like you said, that old school, new school thing, I think you can blend it, you can mix it. It's just
wait, before you go, I'm gonna go back to that game real quick. Kudos to you because I was not leaving them shooters.
Yeah.
But you stayed.
Yeah.
You pounded us.
The game plan.
You never changed.
The game plan was throw it inside.
I was like, I'm just hoping that he makes a mistake and changes and not continues to go on the post. But go ahead. I'm sorry. So, but again, when we talk about old school, new school, at this level for us, it's about that kind of play. At the highest level, you got guys now when they get recruited. They want to go to schools where if I'm 6'9", I can bring the ball up, step back threes, things of that nature. And there's one of the questions was like, why do you think the coaches are retiring? A lot of coaches aren't going to. You can't win with that, not consistently. And if you do, you must got the best shooters in the world. But post play is important. I think you can blend both of them. Yeah. Post play and shooters. That's coaching.
It is coaching.
It's coaching.
It is coaching.
My son plays in 6th grade, and he lives at that 3-point line, and it's because of what he sees on TV.
Right.
And I'm trying to develop him into an all-around player and understand that he needs to play off that 3-point line and to do other things. But to your point, I had a big guy this year, which I haven't had in quite some time at Haddon Heights, and he wanted to go out on the perimeter, and I tried to tell him, like, you're 6'7", you need to get on that block because we can develop that later. You can develop that later on, but for right now, this is what you need to do. Get that proper footwork down, learn to play around the basket, to kind of do what's best for the team, which goes back to what I was saying before. It's hard to get kids to think that way. But the old school, new school, and I went to Camden Catholic. I played under Jim Crawford, and that's what I've always tried to instill with my team, is to keep that old school mentality of playing the way we used to play, inside out. But again, it really, and Coach will tell you, and you'll know too. Like, it really depends on your personnel and what you have.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
but I don't think people see it that way. It's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think we all just bombarded with what the wave is.
Yeah.
Right? And then we feel like we got to succumb to it because there's 9 people over there and Coach Bowles is the only one that's saying this is something else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've had guys leave. They leave, transfer, because I'm like, listen, you're not shooting it. That's not your shot. You're not going to shoot it. And forever, the decisions are, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. Okay, no problem. But that you're not shooting that.
I like to show them that they can't do it though too.
Well, what do they say? Like, the film don't lie, right?
Yeah.
So you just,
I mean, if you can't do this with nobody guarding you, you can't make 60% of it with nobody guarding you.
Even when you show them, young kids nowadays, coach. I made it. You're not making a contested 3. You're not making it with a hand up. You know, and they've already shown you they can't make 6 out of 10. So they're still saying, well, what I can do? Okay,
right.
You know what? I think you may want to think about. It's okay.
Speaking of that, Coach RICCI, let me play devil's advocate. You got a 6'7" kid that want to shoot threes and he want to project himself to college, and I got to be a diverse player and things like that. I'm the parent talking. Mm-hmm. I'm a diverse player. Like you're limiting what I can possibly do in the long run. I don't feel that's right. How do you navigate the parents? Because they in the same boat. This is call it what it is. They watch TV. They want to do what their sons or their daughters want to do. And no, this is what everybody's saying that we should do. Mm-hmm. Coach RICCI, you want to play a fundamentally sound, unselfish team basketball game. It's like, what do you do in those type of instances?
Well, I don't talk to parents. That's the one thing I don't do. So at the beginning of the season, and I learned this from my freshman coach, Coach Purdy, who kind of instilled it, and then I carried it over to the varsity. They have to come in, the parents have to come in to pick up their son's uniform, and we have a parent meeting. So in order for that,
it's the beginning of the year,
the beginning of the season, I go over the rules of how we're going to do things during the season with the kids, and then I have a meeting with the parents, and that's when they get their uniform. So if the parents don't come, they don't get a uniform. So that everyone's on the same page. And I talk to them about that I do not talk to them about playing time. I won't speak to them about their son. If they are 16, 17-year-old going to be grown men, they have to take responsibility. If they have problems, if they have issues with me and how I coach and how I do things, they need to come to me. Because when they get older and they want to play high school basketball or they get a job, they can't call their mom and say, call my boss or call my coach. They have to start taking responsibility. But setting the expectations up front early with the kids, one-on-one meetings, even meetings that I've had in front of the entire team so that everyone understands what their role is. And not dictating to them, this is what we're going to do. It's almost a discussion. Like, this is how I see your role. Tell me what you think. But ultimately, right, we have the final say on what's best for the team. So I've just found that having that meeting with the kids, having a meeting with the parents, setting the expectations right up front. And now it's, having been at Heights for 16 years now, it's just, it's kind of automatic.
Right. Yeah. Coach Bowles?
Oh, well, Coach RICCI, what we do at the beginning of the year, we have a kickoff dinner. And in that kickoff dinner, we invite all of the parents who made the team, and I invite my administration because I don't want anything. I always send out the invite to the administration from the superintendent all the way down. And in that kickoff dinner, we're going over expectations, what I will and will not accept, the parents' responsibilities and all of that. And like you, Coach RICCI, I'm like, if your kids are 16, 17, 18 years old, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and they plan on going to college, they need to talk to me. For me, I do not discuss playing time with the parents. That's a player-coach debate. But if they have any issues, then they're more than willing to sit down and schedule a meeting with me. For the most part, the meeting has to be before practice on a day that I can accommodate, not after practice, because you can go into a meeting after practice and you had the worst practice ever, and it normally works that way. So I'm always like, listen, if we're going to meet, we can meet before practice. And what I always do is I always make sure that my assistant coach is in there with me, and if need be, my AD or someone like that. That way, there's no misunderstanding there. So, but luckily for me, my parents, the last 8 years been pretty good. They've been really good. You know, I haven't had too many issues. I think last year I had a couple issues, but that was more my fault because I probably shouldn't have had some people on the team that I did, and I kind of, you know, you want to help the kids out and kind of, you're like, listen, this will save the kid. If he's not here, he's gonna be doing something crazy.
I know.
And most people don't think of it that way. And I'm like, well, why is he? And then at the end of the day, it kind of backfired on me. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, you always want to make sure that you and the parents are on the same page as to what your expectations are. And like you, Coach Richie, I'm like, listen, once the season starts, my mind is focusing on getting these guys better, winning basketball games. I cannot be worried about Johnny is unhappy. If Johnny is unhappy, Johnny has to come to me. And then I always tell them, listen, if you ask the question, I need you to be prepared for the answer because it will not be sugar-coated. And once they are okay with that, then we can move forward.
Yeah, and then building trust with the kids so that they're able to come to you to have those conversations and they're comfortable enough to have them. It takes time to do that with your team, but once you get to that point and you can have conversations, and you know they pull you to the side and say, "Hey, coach, you got 5 minutes after practice to have a talk about, you know, this, that, and the other thing." That's when you know you have a kid. And then that kind of just trickles down to the others.
See, well, y'all two, and I'm listening to y'all talk, but again, I've seen it from afar. You two are big on relationships and community as well, right?
Yep.
Like, it's not just about y'all coaching on the court.
I don't teach in the building, so you teach, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't teach. So part of and I used to, when I was at Paulsboro, I taught, but since I've been at Heights, so I do a couple things. One is I find a day during the week where my schedule's light, and I'll go substitute so that I can be in the building with the kids, right?
Nice.
I go, coach does the same thing, and many of the coaches do all the same thing. You know, I'll go to soccer games, go to football games, go to baseball games. You know, let them see. Now, I'm fortunate because I live in Haddon Heights, so the kids see me. We draw from 4 towns, but I try to get involved with the youth programs and try to get involved with the kids at the younger level, so they know when they know me before they come into the school. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's part of the job is being out, taking that extra step for kids and not just being that 3-month coach.
Why? And I'm asking you this because, and I asked you initially because I see this a lot where people just show up on game day and they expect results.
Yeah. Like
the kid didn't perform. But for me, it's not even about basketball. You've never even built with this kid.
Right.
Why would they run through a brick wall for you?
Right. But when they see like Coach and myself and many other coaches in South Jersey doing that extra, that's beyond just coaching those 3 months, they see you do that and put the time in, and I really believe that they look at you as just like, all right, if he's going to put the time in, then I am going to run through the wall for him. I am going to do this for him.
Yep.
And then getting involved in the community is just something that is on the kids. We say all the time, like your teammates and your classmates, or they come out and they support you. It's time for you to give back to the community. We recently just did a camp for our REACH program for the younger kids that have autism in our school.
Nice.
We had 8 kids that were participating in that program, and I had 12 kids show up on my team. I just sent one text message. I said, this is important to the kids and to you to be there, and they show up. And I think that's because of the respect that they have for the program and for me and for one another, and they want to help others. So, and then doing that consistently each year, not just a one-off, I believe is important, just to teach the kids.
Yeah. Like Coach, my relationship, most of my guys on my team, I've known them since they were 3rd, 4th grade.
Yeah.
And I live in the community just like you do. I literally live 3 minutes away from the school. And like you said, you do your volunteer work in the community, you do extra in the community, and you're pretty much, the relationships that you have with these kids, for me, starts from third grade on up until high school. And actually beyond high school, because once they graduate, they go from students to young men, from young men to friends, and things of that nature. So I just think that starting that relationship early is very important, because like you said, if they know that you really, is the word, love them first, they're going to trust you. And when they trust you, they're not going to question when you say run through the wall. Why?
We say that a lot in practice. Like
Yep.
when I'm instructing the kid, and sometimes we lose it, right?
Yep.
And I always try to finish it off with, "Hey, I love
I love
you."
you. Yep.
Yeah.
I love you.
man,
Yep.
but
Love is the word.
You're
Yep.
killing me.
Love is the word.
Yeah.
So I mean, so let's end with this, man. What continues to drive you guys? Because I mean, we all seen it over the past couple years. You know, you got your Jay Wrights, you got your Coach K's, you got your. He didn't really say it to me when I sat down with him, Coach Colicchio from Elizabeth, but I think he getting close. I mean, he got other set of problems in North Jersey, but it's still all tied in together, right? Like I just think that this new wave of whatever this is, as far as basketball, is like it could become so draining, right? And change is always inevitable, but it's a lot right now, and it's a lot. And y'all been doing it for a long time, and you have families, and it's just like, what continues to drive you guys to just keep going and doing what you're doing?
Yeah, you talk about family. I have 4 kids and a grandson, and 27 years is a long time. I'd never kind of ever wanted to see the light at the end of the tunnel when it was going to be over, but it's kind of, right now you're asking me, and I can't wait for the season to start. If you were asking me this question in March, I'd probably tell you I'm ready to hang it up, because it's draining. I mean, it's a long season, it's a long process, but for me, it's watching a kid come in as a freshman and watching him leave and seeing him develop, not only as a player but as a person. As I've gotten older, the wins are nice, but to see you put a productive, smart, intelligent, kind person to the world, and to think that you had a part in that, to me is more important than the wins and losses. When I was 23, 24, that's all I cared about. I got to win, I want to win. But as I've gotten older and I've gone through coaching, it's just watching kids like, the kid I mentioned earlier, Brendan, like a kid like Brendan Shannon, who wasn't even part of our team his freshman year, and then kind of worked his way through it, the problems and issues that he was going through, and being able to help him and his family, and then watch him then develop into the player he was, and then go to college and play and just become a great person and a great kid. Those are the things that are rewarding for me, and which keeps me moving, driving.
Yeah. That's, for me, there's no light in the tunnel. This is what I do. I love it, and I don't see me, unless I go see now. I'm doing this thing until the wheels fall off. But like Coach said, you do get drained. You have to pace yourself. But like just to reiterate, for me, it's seeing those guys go from boys to men and become, like you said, productive members in the community. And I've been fortunate because growing up in Philly, you playing at a high level in Philly. You don't see everybody do well once they finish. But over here, I've had an opportunity to coach some really good players. Kyle Hines, Tyler Hines, Randy Bell, all of those guys. Justin Blade, the guys from the 2020 team. That 2020 team, they were babies. And every morning we would get up 5 o'clock in the morning. We were at the hills, and the parents thought I was nuts. And I'm saying, listen, this is going to set them up for life. The work ethic, the understanding, the reason why you do it. And now to see all of these guys do well in the community, do well in college, graduate, and become good men, that makes me feel good. And I think the thing that I love the most is, like, when they send you that text, I love you, coach. there's no price you can put on that. I don't care what you say, especially when they become fathers, police officers, doctors, lawyers. Like I had to get my knee replaced, and one of the guys that is going to replace my knee, he played at Timber Creek years ago.
Right.
And that's what I like. When I told him, I'm like, you should think about being a doctor. What? I'm like, no. So what do you want to be, a doctor? Yeah. Just play basketball for fun and focus on education. But now, you know, when they become doctors and lawyers and positive influences in the community, it's really good. Like, again, we run a basketball camp, Kyle Hines camp. Mm-hmm. That thing we started, when Kyle and I started that thing out, it was 2 kids, and one of them was mine. And now every summer we got over 150 kids coming every day. And I'm saying to myself, that's the effect you want to have on those kids. And my son is with Tyler right now, working out. And so for me, that's what gives me energy, and I love it. I don't know if I'll ever stop coaching it. I'll slow down a little bit, but I'm always going to be around it. And I always just tell them, like, listen, don't roll me into a game in a wheelchair and I got drool coming out of my mouth. Make sure I look presentable on camera. Like, don't embarrass me. But
I already decided when I'm done coaching, I know what I'm going to do next, because I have to stay involved. I'm going to go to the dark side, and I'm going to be an official.
Official? Are you really?
Oh,
man.
That's what I love. Y'all heard it first. He told you.
Oh, that's tough, coach.
Yeah.
Oh.
Man, but look, listen, I really appreciate y'all coming on. I'm just listening to y'all and it's like we are in such a powerful, influential position.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and I'm appreciative that I got 2 guys next to me that really appreciates it. And again, the wins it is cool, but it's like, come on, man. Like when y'all get them texts, 10, 15 years later, come to my wedding.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about, man?
Yeah.
Right.
That's
so
it.
influential.
Yeah.
You know, and if we don't do right by these kids, it could go the opposite way as well. You know, so hey, I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Looking forward to the
Thanks,
season.
man. Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again when Richie is
A referee? Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, right before his first game.
When I tee you guys up.
Are you official?